All right, today we are doing 10.3, analyzing functions graphically. You guys should remember all of these functions. Absolute value, when you have your absolute value, remember anything on the inside will be changed into positive. If it's positive, it stays positive. If it's negative, it changes into positive. Your H and K is still going to be the same. So that doesn't change. It's still going to be, for your H, it's going to move left or right, and for your K, it will move up and down. Now, your absolute value will have an axis of symmetry, and it will also have your max or minimum. Now, your max or minimum will be determined by your H and K. That will be your vertex. For quadratic, your quadratic functions are always denoted by squaring. So whenever you see that square, you know it should be a quadratic function. H and K, again, is your vertex. It will have an axis of symmetry where x is equal to h. And then it will have your max and min at that axis of symmetry. For exponential functions, this is the one that we just finished doing. This one will have an H and K, but it does not have an axis of symmetry. So it's very important for you guys to remember that it will not have an axis of symmetry. The H and K will still be your horizontal and vertical shift, but for exponential, your K will be your maximum or minimum value. Now, for a square root function, it works the same way, kind of like exponential. H and K is still going to be what your vertical and horizontal shifts will be. Your domain will be your H, and your K will be your range. Your minimum point will always be your H and K. All right. For each one of these, it says graph the function and identify your domain and range. So the first thing that I need you guys to do for each of these when you see the questions like this is I need you to fill out this table in order for you to be able to graph. So very first thing, these are all of my x's. So because those are my x's, that means that those are the numbers that I need to plug in where x is. So every single one of these needs to start with negative because there's a negative in front. Now, my x for each one will be different. This one is -2, this one is -1, this one's 0, 1, and then 2. The next thing that comes is the squared. So I'm going to put squared for all of these. After that, it says -2. So I'm going to put -2 for all of these. Now, first thing we need to do is exponents because that's what PEMDAS tells us to do. So -2 times -2 is going to give me a +4. +4 times -1 is going to be -4. -4 minus 2, -6. Again, -1 times -1, +1. +1 times -1, -1. -1 minus 2, -3. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times -1 gives you 0. 0 minus 2 is -2. 1 times 1, 1. 1 times -1 is -1. -1 minus 2 gives us -3. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times -1 is -4. -4 minus 2, it gives us -6. So when we graph this, all you need to remember is that for each one, you're going to plot your points. So my biggest number is -6. My smallest number is my biggest number is -2. My smallest number is -6. So that means I don't need the positive numbers when I'm doing this. So I'm going to do This, of course, is 0. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. On the side, I know this is 1 and 2, and this is -1, -2. How do I know those numbers? Because those are my x values over here. So at -2, it's -6. So I'm going to go to -2 on the x, and then I'm going to go down 6 and make my point. For the next one, -1, -3. So I'm going to go -1 and down to -3 and make my point. At 0, I know it's at -2. 0, -2. So at 0, I'm going to make it at -2. At 1, I have -3. So I'm going to go over 1, down to 3. And the last one, I have 2 and -6. So I'm going to go to 2 and down to 6. And this is my graph. Now, specifically, they ask you to identify the domain and range. As you can tell, my domain, as far as going x and y length, is always going to be continuing to go on. There's no stopping point. So for that one, my domain would be all real numbers. Now, for my range, it only goes up to -2, but it keeps on going. So that means that the biggest number that I could possibly have is -2, but I could go to infinity. Sorry guys, I'm not drawing infinity correct. There we go. Okay? Because that means it keeps on going down, 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 but it cannot go higher than -2. All right, next one. For the next one, you have the negative absolute value of x minus 2. So because I have a negative here, I'm going to put negatives all the way down. Then it says absolute value of x. So I'm going to put my x and my absolute value. -2, so -2 all the way down. All right, first thing, absolute value of 2. The absolute value of -2 is going to give me +2. +2 times -1, -2. -2 minus 2, -4. For the next one, absolute value of -1. Absolute value of -1 is 1. 1 times -1, -1, -1 minus 2, that's -3. Absolute value of 0 is 0. 0 times -1 is 0. 0 minus 2, -2. Absolute value of 1 is 1. 1 times -1, -1, -1 minus 2, -3. Absolute value of 2 is 2. 2 times -1 gives you -2. -2 minus 2 gives me -4. So again, I'm going to make my graph. Now, the biggest number I have here is -2. Smallest number I have is -4. So I'm going to make my graph. Here's 0, -1, -2, -3, -4. 1, 2, -1, -2. All right, my first number. I have -2, -4. So I'm going to go to -2, -4, make my point. Next one, -1, -3. I'm going to go to -1 and go down 3. Next one, 0, -2. I'm going to go to 0, down to 2. Next one, 1, -3. I'm going to go to 1, go down to 3. Next one, 2, -4. I'm going to go to 2 and then down to -4. Now remember, for absolute value, that's going to look like a V. So for this one, my domain is going to be all real numbers because, again, it's going to stretch out side to side, but it cannot go any higher than -2. So again, for this one, I know that -2 is the biggest number that I could possibly get to. But I know that it could go on to infinity. All right, last one. If you notice here, I have a -2 and then it's raised to the x. So I'm going to put a -2 all the way down. And then I'm going to put my exponent. And then it says -2. All right, so now I'm going to grab my calculator. Remember how I told you how to do this? I'm going to put in 2 negative, hit the function button, and then put 2 negative again, and it gives me 0.25. I need to subtract 2 because that's what it says, and it gives me -1.75. For the next one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do 2 negative, function button, 1 negative, and then -2. That gives me -2.5. Next one, anything raised to 0, I hope you remember that it's going to be 1. 1 minus 2, -1. Anything raised to 1 power is just going to be that number. So -2 minus 2, -4. For the next one, I have -2 times -2. Remember, squared means I'm multiplying it 2 times. So -2 times -2 gives me 4. 4 minus 2 gives me 2. So again, now I'm going to go back to my graph paper. My biggest number is 2. My smallest number is -4. So this time I actually need to make a T-chart because I need to go from 2 all the way down to -4. All right, and -2 is -1.75. 1.75 is going to be really close to 2. All right, -1 to -2.5. So that's going to be right in the middle in between 2 and 3. 0, -1. So I'm going to go to 0 and then to -1. Now I have 1, -4. At 1, I'm going to go to -4. And then I have 2 at 2. Now, my graph is all over the place. So for this one, it kind of looks like when I connect the dots, that is going to be everything left and right and everything up and down. So, but you have to be careful here because remember, when you're talking about exponentials, exponential has no axis of symmetry. So remember, it's not going to give you a V or a U shape. So it's okay for that to look like that. All right, for the next ones, it's best that you understand what type of function that you have. Remember when it's written in the form of y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b is a linear function, which means that it's going to be a straight line. For this one, it's asking us for the minimum or maximum value here. So if I'm talking about a straight line, it's going to keep on going to infinity, upward and downward. So whenever you see linear functions, that means it has no max or min. All right, for the next one, this, and when it looks like this, remember when you have it raised to the x power, that means it's exponential. Exponential means that the biggest number that you could go up to will be your 4. So my maximum value here will be 4. For number 6, it works kind of the same way. You want to look at what your k is. So my maximum value here will be at 1, 2. -1 actually. Because remember, h has to be, it has to say negative. So that will be my minimum point that I could go to. All right, next one. Axis of symmetry. Keep in mind, for your axis of symmetry, the only ones that have an axis of symmetry are going to be your absolute values. So as soon as you see absolute value, you automatically know that it has the axis of symmetry. And the other one that has the axis of symmetry will be your quadratic functions. So if you see it raised to the power of 2, then you know that it's going to be an axis of symmetry. Remember, axis of symmetry means that you could cut it directly in half and it looks the same on both sides. So looking at the first function that we have here, it gives us absolute value. So that means it has an axis of symmetry. For the next one, this is quadratic because it has raised to the 2nd power. So this one has an axis of symmetry. For the next one, this is a square root function because we have the square root. Square root functions do not have an axis of symmetry. So this one is no axis of symmetry. All right, for your assignment, it follows exactly how this video does, so I hope you had it written down when you first started this video. If not, you may want to go back through and watch the video as you do each section of your assignment for today. Have a good day.